Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comic Books Transformed, where me, Pete, and my good friend over there, Brian, discuss movies that have been adapted from comic books into movies and into streaming shows. There we go. I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting back at it, Brian. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Yeah.
This is a really good show.
The show we're about to fucking discuss, right?
Yes.
Oh,
You
man.
can't tell by looking at it or listening to it from looking at the title. We're talking about Creature Commandos today.
Yes, we are talking about episodes 1 through 5, which are the first episodes that have been released on HBO Max. There's still 2 more to go before the season is up, but this kind of flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, it's weird because we were on like a little break from recording and doing the show a little bit, and it was weird to just watch things at my leisure, you know.
Yes,
So,
totally agree.
I'm probably a little fuzzy on some of the earlier episodes here, but I'll do my best.
Yeah. I had to do like a little bit of a recap just to make sure I knew everything. And then I put the titles of each episode as clickers on the bottom. So we'll see that.
Nice.
But just as kind of a reminder, this is the very first installment of James Gunn's and Peter Safran's DCU, essentially. And there's like 3 different chapters. And he described it once in this video, like this promotional video. The chapter we're in right now is called Gods and Monsters.
Yes, which to me kind of evokes the thought process behind like the Zack Snyder fueled DC incarnation, because I feel like that's what they were doing. They were talking about like the heroes were gods and they were fighting against monsters. So it's on paper it sounds like it's going to be a rehash, but. And coming into this, I was kind of mixed, I suppose. I wasn't super interested or invested, but much like several other things I've watched this year, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Yes. Would you say that like James Gunn for you, is he always a hit or is he a hit and miss? What is James Gunn for you?
I would say he's more so a hit. I think there is some kind of unique character he brings to whatever he creates there. Is everything like a dynamite smash? Maybe not, but generally unique enough that I'm interested in it. It kind of has that like a off-kilter vibe to it, I suppose.
Yes,
that I appreciate. I've been watching his stuff since Slither, really.
Right.
So I can't think of anything I haven't seen of his, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Holy shit. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've even been watching this stuff since Dawn of the Dead, because I remember that we watched that Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead together.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah. He wrote that. He wrote the first, I think it might even been the first 2 live action Scooby-Doo movies. I know he definitely wrote the first one.
It was.
I haven't seen it though. Yeah.
I've seen both of those, yeah.
Yeah. But for me, like James Gunn, like there's stuff in almost all of his movies and then the Peacemaker show where I'm like, oh, it's like a little bit too much. If they just kind of trim this down a little bit, it'd be really solid and really good. But there are times where I'm like, okay, like this is like a little too much, sort of like ad-libbing, or they're just kind of going off a little too much. That definitely happened in a couple of the first episodes of Peacemaker. I think it happens kind of in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2, as you know, like way more than a lot of people do. But then what's that?
As do I.
Yeah. But then besides that, there's also just like these amazing moments. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in particular has some really, really exceptional moments.
Yes. He knows how to throw a gut punch.
To
put it mildly.
Yes. And there's kind of like shorthand that people use when they discuss these shows, when they do things like us, where they have these YouTube channels, and they always say that James Gunn uses like mic drops, right? Or record drop. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, mic drop works.
Mic drop works.
Drop either way. Yeah. It's just something. It's like you weren't expecting it to go to that place, and it does.
Well, no. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like how he has a really excellent way of pairing up the music with the imagery in movies.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, that's too. Man, is there a lot of Go-Go Bordello in the show?
Is that fucking band that's like a punk band, but like they have like an accent, like a
yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just that one band. like throughout
No,
each
no, no.
episode?
It's a whole bunch of different things. But there, especially in the first 2 episodes, there's like 3 or 4 songs or something like that. There might have been one in the fifth one. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I feel like there's a lot of that. That seems to be like the primary music that he's using. I don't think he's really kind of like. I mean, it's definitely like different. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, like the first one has like that kind of 70s, early 80s rock, and then like it gets a little bit older as the movies, yeah, or more modern as the movies go on. And this, it's got a different type of musical arrangement.
Yeah, this I don't know how to, I mean, it's definitely got some kind of punk rock esque vibe, but it's more of a subgenre that I probably couldn't name properly than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about this show, though, right? Is that the Suicide Squad comic, which was around, I think, since the 70s, but definitely the 80s.
Yep.
They'd have these like story arcs where they'd just go on a mission and they'd be like in another country, and that would be multiple issues, right? And they'd just be in this weird kind of made up DC country. In this, it's like they're really giving off that Eastern European vibe, and I feel like the music captures that.
It definitely does, yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the Suicide Squad, really.
Right.
It's like it's not called that, but it very much feels like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just made that slip. I wasn't even thinking about it, but it's just like basically Suicide Squad, but they just have the Creature Commando characters in it.
Yeah, it's just with monsters instead of criminals.
Right.
mean,
Right.
but
So, we talked about like his little music beats. They have that kind of, even the music feels like it's like this Eastern European music for the credits. Do you like the credits?
yes, yeah, I like everything about it. Honestly, the credits are good. The art style is great. I was initially kind of comparing it to the Harley Quinn show, but I just recently watched an episode of that again, and I don't really think about that. I think you mentioned comparing it to Invincible's art style, sort of. Well, not style, but the animation anyway. I do feel it is kind of similar there. It has this kind of paleness to it, but it's kind of undercut with these like darker outlines. I think that sets it a little apart.
Do you think that the art is more like dynamic, like the actual animation itself, than Invincible?
You know what? I remember we talked about this when we were reviewing Invincible. That we were saying we were wondering if there was any CG enhancements or anything used in the animation there, and there probably definitely was for some cityscapes and stuff. But in this, I feel like everything seems to be hand drawn. Like nothing seems CGI at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I didn't notice anything standing out. It's the only reason why I even brought up this point was because I was listening to a review on the Weekly Planet. Mr. Sunday and Mr. Sunday and Mason were talking about the show, and they thought the animation was better than Invincible. And I was like, I don't know if it's better.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, it's really it's an artistic opinion. I don't think you can clearly say one's better than the other.
Yeah.
But I do feel the palette use is very similar, and it does have some stylistic similarities.
Yeah. Well, I love the opening credits though, because it kind of feels like a anime, like just with all the characters running, like, but it feels like an anime from like, I don't know, the 80s or the 90s. And then the music, it's got that kind of Eastern European music too going over it. And I like how you hear the gunshots like real loud. It just feels very retro.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's got that whole. Is folk punk a genre? Is that what we can call it?
Sure, that works. Yeah, yeah. Do you like the fact that like James Gunn is in a chair and it says like written it by James Gunn?
Yes, if I'm understanding correctly, the animators added that, and he had no control over it, so he didn't like self-insert there.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
Yes. Always love when I self-insert. So speaking of which, the first 2 episodes are very horny.
Yes, and I remember messaging you that. I'm like, what do we want here, man?
Yeah. It's funny, just to give a little context. Like over our little break that we had, I had to have a tooth removed, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in my life at that time. And I hadn't gotten to the point where I was scheduled for an appointment or anything like that. And I was just in a lot of pain. I couldn't sleep. I was taking all these meds just to feel good. And I was downstairs on my couch because I couldn't sleep. And I just put this show on, and it almost felt like a fever dream watching the first 2 episodes, you
I
know,
can
because
imagine. Yeah.
it's just so wild. I mean, I was kind of expecting the cursing and the violence, but just like Rick Flag Sr. and this princess just like flirting and eventually banging. I was like, whoa, this is pretty hardcore for.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, and I was not expecting in the second episode the scene with the bride also. And it did tone itself down in that department a little bit after that,
Yeah.
I think. But I don't think I don't think it's the last we've seen of it.
No, because I think in episode 6, I saw the trailer for it. I think they go to like a whorehouse at one point. So,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, but it's just, it's really a horny show, and it's definitely unlike any kind of Marvel thing right now.
I agree. Yeah, this definitely pushes beyond that limit that Marvel would go. Definitely. I wasn't expecting it, and it's just been very exciting to watch.
Have you watched any What If so far with this new
I
season?
haven't watched any What If. I haven't watched any Skeleton Crew yet. I've just been watching this, and I've been trying to like catch up on horror movies lately.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to see Nosferatu on Saturday, but you already saw the freaking Substance before me, man.
I did. Yeah, you got to watch it.
Okay, I will. I'll watch with Sherry soon. But yeah, obviously there's been comparisons between the DCU and Marvel, and like the way Marvel is currently, and with this new DCU that's just sort of in its fledgling state. And of course, James Gunn is that connective tissue between the two. It's funny though, when you watch What If and then you watch this, it's like this is the kind of show that like you're kind of excited to watch with your like high school buddies. You're like, oh shit, look at what just happened. And then like What If is like, I don't know, you go to sit down with your grandfather or something, and you're like, oh, I know that guy. He's an Eternal, like it's just, I don't know.
Oh man, the Eternals are in it. Okay. Yeah, no, I always felt that when we used to do our rankings, like What If always ended up kind of the bottom of even the Disney Plus shows to me. This is something very like I understand the vibe that they're just going for What Ifs, particularly with the MCU, because that's what people know. But it's just like it feels like it's like run its course, or they just didn't make it interesting enough. Like there were some episodes that were interesting there, but like I feel like this. And it helps that this is like a completely serialized show here. This, we're telling a complete story. Where What If does have some overarching things here and there, but ultimately it's like a one-off each week.
Well, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, and it's great because this series is only 7 episodes long, real quick. It's not dragging. And almost every episode is sort of like a feature on a specific character too.
Yeah, with maybe the exception of the first one, I guess, because there was no feature character in the first one.
Yeah, the first one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was really just the setup of everything, really, and then really we get the bride in the second episode, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like the first one is called The Collie Wobbles, and Rick Flag Sr. is kind of talking about a feeling that he has being in this town, or I'm sorry, this country, which is called like Pokolistan.
Pokolistan, yes.
Yeah, and they go there in the very first episode. I feel like if there's any focus on any characters, it's really like Rick Flag Sr. and this princess that's in this country. And I really like Frank Grillo. I was kind of worried about like his addition to this Superman movie and stuff, because I'm like, there's way too many characters in this movie to begin with, and I didn't know if like he'd be an interesting character to have in the DCU, but I really fucking love him on this show.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm very curious as to when this takes place. Like, is this before Superman? Is it after? I mean, clearly we are taking off from what's left over from the DCEU. So like the Suicide Squad happened to an extent. Peacemaker happens to an extent. We're not really sure what else, but they make mention of those things there, so we know we have a little bit of connective tissue there from that. But and we do see that they mentioned that Rick Flag Jr. has passed already. They mentioned that in the first episode. So I'm curious to see where this takes place in terms of the new timeline.
Yeah, I think I somewhere that it takes place in 2023. So it's like a year ago, our time.
Okay.
And I don't know when Superman takes place, but I feel like the show is pre-Superman though.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So okay, so we should sort of set the stage while we're talking about this, right? I watched a couple of really good videos on Movie Bob's channel, and he was talking about like what James Gunn is trying to do, and we kind of mentioned this when we talked about the Superman trailer. But I think that what James Gunn's trying to do, at least what Movie Bob thinks James Gunn's trying to do, is the idea of like superheroes being almost like corporate entities, like they are in The Boys, and like Superman is kind of like this breath of fresh air where he's not bound to a corporation. He's not doing it for the money. He's just altruistic. And I think that, maybe by the time this season ends, Frank Grillo is, Rick Flag Sr. is removed from like Task Force. They're called Task Force M, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe he's done with it and maybe he's actually working for a corporation too. Like I kind of feel like it's going to be that like corporations run superheroes and that Lex has people that are like in the authority on his corporate team. What do you think?
I'm actually even glad. The reason I'm questioning the timeline is because not to skip too far ahead here, but is he dead?
I know. It looked like he fucking died in episode 5. Spoilers,
yes.
By the way. Yeah. I don't think he's gonna be dead though.
Okay.
I feel like just narrative wise, he can't be dead because we have to see what happens between him and the princess.
Yeah, because it definitely seems that clearly Frankenstein doesn't care about that mission at all, aspect of the mission. He's focused solely on seeing the bride again. So it would feel very unresolved if he were to be dead there. But I mean, he got the fucking we're live. I shouldn't be cursing.
Curse away, man.
The Bane backbreaker knee, So
yes,
I don't know how he walks after that.
Yeah, Clayface fucked him up. I was surprised by that, man.
Yes.
No. There's so much to unpack because I want to get to that stuff too. But let's kind of go chronologically. And there's one other thing I wanted to kind of talk about with setting the table here. The existence of Amazons in this show, which is like the world knows about Amazons. They know about Themyscira.
Yeah, they're supposed. I don't remember if it's supposed to be animated or live action, but there's supposed to be a show. What is it called?
Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost. Yeah, it's supposed to be just about Themyscira. And I feel like this definitely sets that up here. There's a lot of that in the background, especially with Cersei as a villain, or not, depending on how you look at it. And you have that. They just mentioned Themyscira a lot. We have that professor that mentions a lot of things there. So I think that really is just like, hey, we're making this show too. Stick around if you're interested.
Yes.
But is it live action or is it animated?
Live action.
It is live action. Okay.
Yeah. I know that they said it was going to be kind of like a Game of Thrones type show, but like in Themyscira.
Man, I'm very curious to know if that will have Wonder Woman or not.
I don't know.
Is that going to be like a Sony Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man?
Probably. I would assume that like Wonder Woman has already left to go to the regular world and it's about like the people left behind. But I do think we will have Cersei because I think that like pretty much everyone they cast as the voice actors would be in the live action versions too.
That's interesting because I know they cast Anya Chalotra. I forget how to pronounce her name, but she was Yennefer in The Witcher.
And she's Cersei in
Cersei in this, yes.
Oh, she's totally going to be Cersei in that show. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, okay. So like we're kind of bouncing all around the place, but this is where the meat and potatoes. I was just talking about setting the table. This is the meat and potatoes. The shit that gives me a fucking boner. See, I don't care if we're live, Brian. The shit that gets me so fucking excited is that this show, they're not like going out and being like, oh, well, we found this Kryptonian tech, so now we have to like get this kryptonite and shit like that. Like, oh, it's connected to Superman, or oh, these guys are from Arkham. Like, they're not going like the mainstream stuff that we're so used to. Oh, the dark side is connected somehow with Apocalypse. It's this weird shit where it's like in this country that nobody knows about. It's all these characters that nobody knows about. And then like they have this random Wonder Woman villain, But yet, Brian, it feels like it's building up to something really fucking big, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, in one episode they kind of turned the tables on how we were viewing everybody and their positions here, and
Right.
it seems like there's some pretty messed up vision that Cersei has had about what could happen in the future if they don't stop. I can't remember what her name is.
Okay, so Princess
Ilana.
Ilana Rostovic, yes.
Yes.
So let's fucking unpack that, because that's where the fucking juice is, man. Right? It's like, okay, we have this vision, and the vision, she has like a scarred face, which I think the easy assumption would be that was from Weasel, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Right. Then they drop bombs on like a major metropolitan city. I'm not sure which city it is from this country. Then you see fucking Gorilla Grodd, you know?
Yes.
Right. And it's like, what the hell does Gorilla Grodd have to do with any of this?
And not to mention too, like all these soldiers have this kind of like knight-looking armor that functions like almost like Iron Man armor in a way. So it's like, where are they getting this tech from, and why do they need to be protected against these kind of inbred white males, sort of?
Right.
Which I thought was interesting, because I believe the Sons of Themyscira is actually a thing.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
But they were supposed to be discarded males that were born on Themyscira, and not.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I also saw somebody point out that their logo is SOFT, which is funny.
That's fucking awesome. I didn't even notice that.
So to me, it's very interesting that Cersei has recruited these rednecks,
Losers,
for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be a threat to these crazy Iron Man armor dudes.
Yeah. They're like incels. They're like trolls and stuff.
Yeah.
They talk about like, why is Themyscira just for women? And like, why do they get all the waterfalls? They say that shit. But what's really interesting about that is the knights, they're referred to as the Amethyst Knights.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And I don't know much about Amethyst, but I do believe that the princess sort of resembles her.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
But I don't remember her being villainous.
No, she's not. And like, I don't know what her motivation is. I think that you and I should discuss that too. But like Amethyst, do you want to kind of explain to everybody what the fuck that is? Like in DC
I don't know.
Comics?
I barely know.
Okay.
I know there's a comic called Amethyst. I know there's something to do with Gem World, and I just recognize the names, and that's really all I know.
Yeah, I could do it real brief and easy. It's just basically like a comic. I think it's from the 80s, and basically like this young blonde girl that looks like the princess. She ends up in like another dimension, which is like the gem world that you just mentioned. And like everybody there kind of has gem type names and then like powers that go along with that specific color. It's kind of very My Little Pony / Green Lantern at the same time. And so I think it's interesting though, because in the second episode, the title of the second episode is it's a special kind of necklace. It's the
tourmaline necklace.
Yeah, tourmaline necklace. Yeah, and the gem on that necklace is very similar to like the gems that are on the knights as well.
Oh, I didn't notice that. But that necklace, that was the one that the bride was trying to get from. Victor Frankenstein gave the bride.
Yes, okay. In the flashbacks, yes, and I think I'm pretty sure that Gorilla Grodd has some kind of gem or something like that too, in that vision.
Okay, man, that would be interesting if they were to kind of reveal all this in 2 episodes left.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing. I don't think they're going to do that. And then, do you know the connection between this and Superman?
I don't.
Okay, so in that Superman trailer, I got to give credit to Emergency Awesome, because I use his channel quite often. He points out all these little things I just mentioned to you. There's 2 scenes where people have Daily Planet newspapers open and they're looking at newspapers. And if you look at it, it says like the hammer of what the fuck is the name of the country? Paul Kholistan. it like references that country and a crisis being there, and it has fucking Gorilla Grodd on the front page.
Okay. Okay.
So okay, so that in itself shows that this happens before the Superman movie.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so that's in the Superman trailer, though.
Yes, it's in the trailer. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to rewatch that again.
Yeah, it's you gotta like freeze it and like look real close, but people did that in YouTube videos, and it's like, oh, okay. Like they're referencing this show in that movie.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
maybe
go ahead.
So maybe he's not dead.
Maybe who's not dead? Oh,
Maybe
Rick Flag Sr.
Rick Flag Sr.'s not dead.
Yeah. So then, all right, well, come on, man. Give me what you got when it comes to Cersei's fucking vision.
Okay, so we see a vision of much like Tony Stark's vision of Thanos. You see all these heroes just absolutely dead on pikes, and it seems like they are just basically taking over the world here. But you see Superman, you see Batman, you see Wonder Woman, you see who else do you see? I saw Green Arrow there. You see some Teen Titans.
Yeah, well, Starfire. You definitely see Starfire. But here's the thing: people think that that's Green Arrow, but also people think that it is Judo Master from Peacemaker.
Oh, maybe because you do see Vigilante and Peacemaker in there as well.
Right,
that's possible. Okay,
so it's a very weird collection of characters, right? Because it's like the big three. Then there's like ancillary characters that you'd kind of expect with them, and then there's like random James Gunn people.
Yes,
so it's a weird collection.
Yeah,
but like in your mind, in your fantasy booking, how does this princess and Gorilla Grodd lead to Superman being dead and Batman?
I have no idea because they're even showing you the classic. Superman cape on a stick kind of thing almost. So it's like I don't know how you get there. I really don't, because we've definitely seen kind of in this most recent episode, we've seen a little bit of that sinister vibe from the princess, but previously we didn't see it at all. Like they hit it very well, and they did not give you any tell on it.
Right.
So I really don't know how or why this is going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know why. And the thing is, like, Clayface is involved too, right? By the 5th episode, we know that Clayface is involved. So
Yes.
To me, it makes it feel like there's like a what are they fucking called? The Legion of Doom? Like a Legion of Doom kind of thing going on?
Maybe, but it's interesting because Clayface replaced that professor who's an expert in Themyscira. She appeared in the 4th episode, or was that the 3rd or 4th? I don't remember.
4th,
but
yeah.
Was that Clayface at that point, or was that the actual professor? Because the professor is vouching for the legitimacy of Cersei's vision. So, What is the benefit of Clayface to tell Amanda Waller that?
Yeah.
Unless it's not Clayface yet, but then if it's not Clayface, why is why are they impersonating this lady?
That's a really good question. I actually feel like, because I thought that the very first scene in the 5th episode was a little bit off-putting, because like it's like so over the top, the way that Professor acts in the class.
Yes, yeah.
Where like they're like hitting on the student in front of everybody, then they're like lesbians, and I was like, okay, it's a little too much,
It's also really funny because although you don't hear him in that scene, because I think it's Stephanie Beatrice is the professor, but
yeah, Alan
Tudyk is Clayface in this briefly, and he's also Clayface in Harley Quinn.
Right.
And in Harley Quinn, he is borderline gay, if not gay.
Right.
The whole episode where he was like pretending to be a high schooler, or no, like a college student or something like that, and it's very different.
Right. Well, in this, he's seems like almost like a womanizer or something. But I feel like the difference in personality is so severe between this episode and episode 4 that he had to have gotten her in between.
But why? I mean, so maybe it happened afterwards. But why were they following her then?
Yeah. Um,
It's weird timeline, and then also you have to factor in that they're making a Clayface movie. You know, like how does that play into this too? I mean, is that
yeah.
just gonna be an origin story? Which I imagine it's gonna be an origin story movie because
Well,
it's Mike Flanagan. It's probably gonna be some kind of horror based aspect to it.
yeah, I totally agree. Flanagan's not going to make some kind of thing that's like a piece of a bigger puzzle with all this moving parts and stuff.
Yeah,
But I mean, like to answer your question of well, why would they replace that professor right there in that moment, right? I feel like Flag was going to get that professor to vouch for the princess, right?
I don't know why they were following her. That's the whole thing. It just opens up with it opens up in the school and they're outside the window. And that's like I'm like, why? How did we get here? Did I miss something in the 4th episode?
Well, him and Frankenstein team up, but I thought they were going to get the professor to kind of. I thought he was like trying to prove the princess was like legitimate.
I thought he was trying to contact the princess.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Basically, it breaks down to there's like two possibilities, right? One possibility is that the bad guys who are working together want to start a war between Pokolistan and I guess at least the United States, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The other is that they're trying to prevent a war. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Either way, I'm invested. I mean, I'm intrigued by all of the characters, all the backgrounds, everything tying together here. I'm very interested in it, but I feel like there's a lot left to tell, and we only have 2 episodes left. I believe they said there's a 2nd season already.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Okay, and I guess hopefully that'll come sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
And then we're not left on like a major cliffhanger midway.
Right. Well, let me ask you some questions so we can kind of like put this together. Do you feel like Cersei is telling the truth and like she believes her vision and her vision is true to her?
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like that was meant to like flip the script here, and we were initially trying to help the princess, and then it was meant to kind of be that mic drop kind of thing. That's not how you used it before, but meant to make you think it the other way and set you on this path where the princess is the actual villain.
Right. Okay, so then that would mean personally I don't think that Clayface and Cersei are together.
I mean, somebody's got to be paying him to do that.
Right.
For some reason, and it has to be related to this in some manner.
Right. That's why I was going with the Legion of Doom thing, because like Gorilla Grodd is in those flashes,
Yeah.
And so I could feel like he and maybe like Lex or somebody is paying Clayface.
Maybe.
But
still, it's still. I'm still curious as to why. I feel like there's got to be a larger thing there that we're not realizing, or hasn't been presented to us yet.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we spent a lot of time on that, but that's because it's so juicy and exciting. Why don't we just kind of go through their backstories real quick before we kind of wrap this up?
Sure.
All right. So, which character for you stands out the most that you enjoy the most?
Oh man, I have no idea. They've all been great so far. Every backstory has made me more interested and invested in the character. Really, we should just go in the order they were done. So we should start with the bride.
Okay.
So she sort of seems more of the focal point of the team than I expected.
Agreed.
They intertwine the classic kind of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein story into this, and we also are introduced to Frankenstein, who was different than I expected.
Agreed. Totally agree.
And at first it was a little off-putting for me about Frankenstein because I just didn't picture him like that. I feel like he was different in the few comics that I've read with him in it. And I think David Harbour is actually doing a really good job of it, but it's just that's like the one thing that I was just not expecting and wasn't so sure about the show.
Right. Yeah. Good.
It's interesting, that essentially Victor Frankenstein creates the bride for Frankenstein, but ends up, screwing the bride instead, and then that causes Frankenstein to kill him. I don't think that's happened in any version of that before.
No, not normally. No. I want to talk about what you just said, because I think David Harbour is actually doing a fantastic job with the voiceover work, because he's like goofy as hell in a lot of it, but then he's also like deathly serious in some of it. Like there's the scene where he's in the fifth episode with the gypsy woman. I guess that's not even politically correct at this point now. He calls her, he says gypsy though.
Yes.
There. But he's with her, and he's very like earnest. His tone is very earnest, and he's very serious. And I really love those interactions. But then he's also like really silly. Like he's talking about like Titanic and When Harry Met Sally, and it's so goofy.
He has this narcissistic, sociopathic kind of side to him.
Yeah.
He's just emotionless, but in some aspects, but very emotional in other aspects when it comes to love, I suppose. But otherwise, he sees like things have a purpose, and once they outlive their purpose, they don't need to be there anymore.
Yeah, and he's just like randomly killing people. Like, I think in the last episode, he just kills these two mercenaries he's with just for no reason, really.
Yeah,
he's pretty unhinged. And did you like that sequence where it's like him and the bride, and he's just chasing her throughout time?
Yeah, it was nice to see all the different. We've seen things like that before in, like, I want to say, like Wolverine Origins. Like I actually love that scene of Wolverine Origins with Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting throughout the various wars and time periods. So that was kind of the DC animated equivalent of that, which it was cool.
Agreed. Yeah. No, I mean that episode is pretty heartbreaking when she finds him. Like she wakes up, and then like he's killed Victor Frankenstein. He has him like hung up on a rack or something. And that was really disturbing, I thought, too.
Yeah, he got pretty brutalized there, yeah. And he had to do it.
Yeah. And that's Peter Serafinowicz, who is the voice of Victor Frankenstein.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. But then it's cool, because then you have this dynamic where he runs into Rick Flag, and he's like really desperate to get with the bride, and then Flag is really desperate to get to the princess, so they're kind of teamed up together. Then with the bride herself, we can understand why she hates this area of the world, and like why she hates Frankenstein. Then we see her get the necklace, but then there's this really fucking awesome battle, like probably one of the best battles in the series, with her and Cersei.
Yes, and which also ends up. Oh no, this is when they first get captured, right? Not afterwards, right?
Right.
I mean, really, every action sequence in this has been pretty dynamite.
Yeah.
No, it's very inventive ways of killing people.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, like Cersei makes the bride's arms like those kind of wiggly guys that you blow up and you put them in front of a store. I fucking love that. Yeah. And I mean, it's just like really brutal with the shooting, and then like just kind of like using people's body parts and stuff to hit each other.
Yeah.
Fucking great. Yeah.
It's very creative.
Yeah. So then that's the bride. Then let's go on to the Tin Man, G.I. Robot.
G.I. Robot. This was another great episode here. We get some nice cameos from Sergeant Rock in this, and we see a lot of dead Nazis. Also, very kind of tragic backstory here with the character created to kill Nazis. His only joy in life is killing Nazis, and we don't see that much of it. We see this one big scene where he saves his whole crew, and then he essentially, like, the war ends, and he's kind of put on a shelf for people to study. And then we also get a cameo from Will Magnus, who creates the Metal Men. We see some like ideas running in the background about their future creations there. So some nice deep cut DC characters in this episode, in this backstory. And then the kind of ironic twist, he eventually makes his way to a war collector person, and it turns out he was a Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a nice, funny little twist to have at the end of that, which I saw coming a mile away, but
right,
worthwhile anyway. And then we're surprisingly, G.I. Robot sacrifices himself at the end, and dies at the end of the episode, and kind of the battle with Cersei and the Sons of Themyscira.
Yeah, I was not expecting him to die too. I mean, I suppose, especially when you see Will Magnus, like the Metal Men have been killed so many times and brought back to life. So I don't think he's like completely off the table, but
Yeah.
he definitely seems dead right now. Also, with that, Sean Gunn is the voice of him and also Weasel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like, because all I know of Sean Gunn is really the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. What's his name? Craddock or Kraglin. That's really all I've kind of seen him in. I know he has like a cameo in all of his brother's things, but like he doesn't really sound like him when he's GI Robot.
No, it sounds definitely different. He's trying to do a kind of robotic voice, but it makes sense though to have him because he was the voice of Weasel previously, and then there's not much to say there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to give him the voice of another character as well.
Yeah. So speaking of Weasel, what James Gunn considers to be the two best episodes of the series are episode 4, Chasing Squirrels, and then the finale of the show.
Interesting. I didn't hear that, but yeah, this was a really good episode. This was a even more tragic backstory where it's not so much of a backstory because we still don't know how or what Weasel is, but
right,
we see him as a kind and curious creature who's innocently playing with some children, and it's just taken out of context. I got a lot of vibes of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and that because he's just doing these innocent things, and somebody sees it, and it looks fucking horrifying because it's this weird creature, dragging a child by their clothes, and it just looks horrifying. But it's just they're just playing.
Right.
And then a series of unfortunate events happens, and everyone dies except Weasel.
Yes,
but it still doesn't really explain why he's so violent because he rips people to shreds in previous episodes in the present, and even in Suicide Squad too. So it's although it's a view into a backstory that we wouldn't have known otherwise, it still doesn't really explain what he is or how he got there or how he turned from that to this violent creature he is now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. In the comics, I've never read a book with him in it, but I know that I think he's a Firestorm villain, and he's kind of like the equivalent of Vermin. Vermin from Spider-Man?
Yeah, but I think he definitely wasn't created in this kind of weird, he was a guy in a suit when he was originally created, and not some kind of weird character
okay.
Now.
Okay, so you know your shit too. Yeah. Do you remember there was a crossover in the 90s for DC where Necron, the demon, gave a lot of villains powers and shit? He made them more powerful.
It called no, I don't remember it.
Oh no! It wasn't fucking Necron. Necron's from Green Lantern. He's the one that looks like death. There's another fucking demon that gives villains powers. Anyway, it's called Underworld Unleashed. Is the name of the crossover?
No, I don't remember it.
He probably turns Weasel from a guy in the suit to this kind of Craven. I mean, not Craven. Vermin type creature.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. I'll look it up and I'll send you the link later. But no, it's a good fucking episode. And then we also just see the operation a little bit more out of Bel Rev, and we see John Economos from Peacemaker in there. It's kind of cool to see him in there, lying very badly.
Yes, but the continuity's there. He's got the crutch and everything like that, so it's very consistent with Peacemaker and all that. There's also the lawyer that's trying to get. I guess they're calling him John. The Weasel. John Doe. I wonder how that factors in to anything, because what does that have to do with the plot essentially? Yeah, I feel like it's going to come back later on and for something. So I don't think the questions I have about Weasel, I think, may still get answered in maybe season 2 or something.
Yeah, maybe it's an ongoing thing. But even that lawyer, she's not like a character that was just made for the show. Like she's a
Oh,
character
really?
from DC. Yeah. I'm telling you, I watch all these like deep dive episodes where they just go through each like Easter egg and thing like that. And yeah,
Interesting.
she's not a big DC character, but she is a DC character.
Okay.
So
So
then
I wonder if that professor is then too.
the professor absolutely is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'll find out who they are, and I'll find out the Underworld Unleashed thing too, and send that to you.
Okay.
But that brings us up to the last episode, which is called The Iron Pot.
Yes, and this is a Frankenstein-centric episode for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Well, backstory was anyway. So yeah, we see what happens with Frankenstein immediately after the confrontation with the bride in the past. He's all burned up. The castle's burning, and he gets saved by this gypsy woman who kind of takes him in and heals him up and all that. And then we already talked a lot about this episode. With the kind of weird opening with Clayface. We have the Commandos with Bride in the lead, going back now to kill the princess, and the Amethyst Knights kind of figure it out, kind of mid-transit, and there's a big battle there too, and everybody's kind of separated now.
Yeah.
Really violent kills here too.
Yes. I love actually when Dr. Phosphorus just cuts loose and just annihilates the guys.
Yeah, he takes off his pants and just walks through the tank with his middle fingers up.
It's so good. His head goes through a guy. And it's just like you just see like an eyeball hanging in an open skull. It's fucking crazy. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
I love. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I love Alan Tudyk so much, and I think that like he was so great in the Doom Patrol show that it's just great to see him be like another over the top villain in this.
Yeah, he's prolific at this point because he's able to do so many different voices, and like he does another side character voice in this too that I don't remember who it was now. Oh yeah, he was Will Magnus.
Oh, okay.
Well,
okay.
So yeah, he's fantastic, and I believe the next episode is going to be about him. Well, his backstory anyway.
Yes, I did see the trailer for that, and it's kind of interesting because it looks like he's almost in like a music number, and he has like his own henchmen that are these kind of green skeleton guys.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Ghost. I don't know if James Gunn is a Ghost fan at all, but it kind of looked like Ghost because they have these like dancers that look like skeletons. Probably not. But do you know anything about Dr. Phosphorus from the comics?
No. Didn't even know who he was before this.
Do you remember in Batman Beyond, the guy that makes Terry McGinnis's dad die becomes like a green skeleton guy?
Main villain, essentially.
But his name's like Hazard or something, though.
Is it?
He's not Dr. Phosphorus.
No, it's not. I mean, clearly it can't be, but it's just the visual similarities are there.
Yeah, and then also there's a recent DC comic where like Batman is dying, like Batman dies, or like he's gonna die soon. Oh, I know what it is. Did you read all of Tom King's Batman run, all of it?
I think I read all of Tom King's, but I didn't get far into Tinian's continuation of it.
Okay, but did you read like his Batman and Catwoman stuff?
No, I didn't get to because that wrapped up the whole story. I didn't read that.
Fuck. Okay.
I dropped out around there. I stopped reading a lot of things around then.
Yeah. Well, because Dr. Phosphorus actually plays a big part in the Batman and Catwoman series.
Ooh, interesting. And that villain's name was Blight.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, I mean, looks like we're getting his flashback. So then that kind of rounds off the team if we're not doing Flag. Oh, no, wait. It doesn't give us the fucking
Nina.
Yeah. What's her deal?
Nina, and she, I didn't know who she was either. So I don't know. And she hasn't done all that much here. So I imagine she's going to have a big role coming up.
Yeah. Maybe she has a big role in the finale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like it sounds like this next episode is Dr. Phosphorus, and the last one will be her. That kind of rounds out everybody. But I imagine that something big has to happen with her.
Yeah.
In the present, in order to tell the story of her past.
Did they say that she's like a human that became this kind of?
She did say something like that. I think the second episode, but I don't remember exactly. But they have not really elaborated on it much.
Yeah, it's not like she's like some kind of creature from like Atlantis or like
No,
You
I
know,
think she
Aquaman
was
lore.
a human at some point, and she was changed into what she is.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a really great fucking show. What we can do is we can go watch the next 2 episodes and come back and review it some more. Maybe review one other thing in between, and then do like a best of what we've covered for 2024.
Yeah, sounds good.
So yeah, so we'll come back in 2 weeks to talk about Creature Commandos. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Creature Commandos?
No, I'm all good here.
Okay, nice. And then maybe we'll do Skeleton Crew. Maybe we won't. We're not going to do What If because it is just fucking lame sauce. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll watch it on in the background maybe someday. But yeah,
exactly. I watch What If as I play Marvel Snap. That's what I do.
maybe I'll do
Like,
the same.
oh,
Do some bounty, man. Come on.
Let's fucking do it. There you go. So anyway, Brian and I got to get going, but we'll see you guys soon. Merry Christmas, and if we don't see you guys before then, Happy New Year too.